anyone that gets annoyed at your parents when you're trying to prove a point? Like, the point is right here, and they're just dodging it. Well, my father is the kind of dad who thinks he knows a little bit about everything. So to him, that means he knows everything. And we would have discussions, conversations, and I'd say they're kind of like heated debates because we would get into it. Like, we would talk about relationships, work, religion. Sometimes I put too much seasoning in the food. We'd talk about everything. And he would speak over me. He would dismiss my feelings, or, you know, he'd even give like an insensitive remark. And it bothered me a lot. He would chalk it up to, well, I lived longer than you, so therefore I know what I'm talking about. Really, Daddy? Really? Like, come on. Does your dad know everything? Does your parents know everything? Do you know someone in your family that knows everything? Do you see how annoyed I am? Like, that's my father. Look at it. Come on. Come on. So I decided, you know, I'm going to have my own catchphrase. So it was the same old routine. We're in a heated discussion. He is going in. And I look him dead in the eyes, and I said, well, Father, well, you're not emotionally intelligent enough to understand where I'm coming from anyways. Boom, mic drop, explosion scene, it's a wrap. Like, I just knew that's how I could win debates with my dad. And honestly, I've been using the term EQ and emotional intelligence loosely, because I would like call up my girlfriends and I would say like, oh, you know, my boyfriend, he is so nice. He's so sensitive. And he's cute, girl. I got me a good one. Yes, girl. But clearly this word meant more than just being nice or super sensitive. So what does it really mean? What does it look like? What could it possibly feel like? So I stumbled upon this video.
Help me! I'm feeling.
I really love that movie, by the way. But let's analyze what just happened here. We have the Grinch, and he basically went through a heart attack of feelings and emotions. We could say that he became more aware and in touch with who he, you know, is and his feelings. But EQ, emotional intelligence, is not synonymous with touchy-feeliness or being feminine. It's not a woman thing. It's something that both men and women can have or lack, so not having any of it. It's not innate, so it's not something that only the chosen few are born with. So, you know, the rest of us are left to be the lower EQ beings that, you know, cannot be emotionally intelligent. It also doesn't mean that because you're older, that automatically makes you wiser or emotionally intelligent. Like, it don't work like that. But what it really is, because what I mentioned were misconceptions, actually, and there are definitions based on these misconceptions, but what it really is you're recognizing your emotions and the emotions of others, as well as managing those emotions and influencing others, and using that emotional data to enhance thought, or enhance your skills, or even solve a problem. But how, actually? They say people with good EQ are able to negotiate an emotionally charged situation and control and manage the emotions as well as those of others, and be able to take over the situation and respond diplomatically. But really, how? Well, there are a variety of models, actually, on EQ, for example, ranging from knowing your strengths and your challenges, looking at, for example, the way you will control and redirect negative impulses or emotions, and adapting to those circumstances, especially when they're changing. Or there are models that you capitalize on a person's changing moods to enhance thought. But really, emotional intelligence is more than that. It is also something that we all have. It is a skill that we can enhance. And I know with these models that I just mentioned, it's kind of like, okay, this is a lot of information, but how can I really apply this? And a lot of diplomats actually believe it's a bunch of hippie hoopla, that there are criticisms about it. For instance, they'd say stuff like, with EQ testing, they have these questions that they pose carefully, they're carefully curated, but we still possess bias. So we would still choose and pick answers that we feel the general consensus would agree on, instead of choosing the answer that we feel resonated the most with us and how we really feel. They have gone even so far to call it pop psychology and say that, it's been romanticized, and that, life coaches and personal gurus have used it as a scam of some sorts. But as I said, EI, emotional intelligence, it's a process, despite the criticisms and what the diplomats say. It's a process, it's a skill that we all can enhance, even when we're not dealing with each other face to face. I mean, we all kind of practically live on the internet. We're always posting comments or sending emails or texting. And it could seem pretty one-dimensional. And then you might think that, oh, but EQ kind of goes out the window the way I see people interact with each other online, how trolls can be online. But we're so connected through technology. We're so connected that we are emotionally disconnected. We would rather choose to be offended because it's easier, as opposed to just simply acknowledging another person and where they're coming from. So, how can you enhance EQ? Simple, but not really. Practice empathizing. It's easier said than done, but question yourself. When you start to notice that your feelings and how you're behaving in a certain way, you start to see a pattern. Question yourself, why am I acting like this? Why am I feeling like this? Empathize with others. question them as well. Ask them, why are you feeling like this, instead of just reacting impulsively. My mom used to always say, and she still says this, Victoria, you need to be the bigger person. And I hate it when she says that, because it's extremely hard to be the bigger person. Like, I don't want to be the bigger person. You know, if I'm right, I'm right. If they're wrong, they're wrong. But what would the world look like if we all chose to be the bigger person and empathize with others? We'll certainly be a little less annoyed at each other for sure, I'm pretty sure. But you can also choose to practice responding instead of reacting. The kicker here is that reacting is an unconscious process, while responding is conscious, because you're involved with how you're feeling, and then you take a mental pause, basically, and you can decide what action to take or how you want to behave. So I decided, why don't I put this into practice myself? And I wanted to empathize with my father. I mean, I'm not perfect. I sometimes react instead of responding. But I wanted to empathize with him, and I thought, maybe it's because he's older, and the world is changing, there's more information out there, and he's just trying to keep up to date, so whenever there's something he probably doesn't know, and I do know, he might act a little hostile. So I thought, you know, hey, I'm empathizing, I'm getting where he's coming from. That was my theory. And I actually decided to ask him, you know, Dad, why you doing me like that, you know? And he responded, and he said, well, daughter, it's because you're so cute when you get upset. That's why I really do it. And I'm just like, really, Daddy? Like, I can't win with him. I really can't win with him. But in all seriousness, we owe it to ourselves to communicate better with each other. We carry the responsibility to manage our feelings and those of others, and also as well influence them and acknowledge them. Listen, try to understand and see where they're coming from. Because at the end of the day, we're not always going to have people that are going to empathize with us. But we have the choice to choose to be the bigger person and empathize with them. And I think that that's a big step in being smart, which is a little hard. Thank you for your attention.